Having a fantastic day today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to talk with me on, the system administrator portion of our Shepherd Staff webinars here. This is just kind of a Genesis 1 in the beginning sort of approach, like showing how to install as well as kind of how to just start getting started and starting inviting people into the software as well. Kind of a light sort of a tour of the different utilities and programs that are available in here. And so I just definitely just appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to spend with me on that. So for introductions here, so my name is Taylor Brown here, and I can even press on buttons on occasion. So here we go. So with that, my name is Taylor. I'm a software support technician here at Concordia. I've been very blessed to be working here for going on about 6 years now. Really have been enjoying talking to church folk like yourself. Definitely feel free to reach out to us as needed with that. All phones and microphones have been muted as per our typical webinar sort of situation. However, if you do have any particular questions on how to install or just anything relating to Shepherd Staff, please feel free to go ahead and enter in your question in the question answer area in the webinar sort of utility. And if, while I'm just continuing on with showing you and having my demonstration here, I do have my manager, Rod Kiles, here. He is just kind of going to be hanging out and answering questions as needed. Anything that he doesn't get to, we will definitely take time at the very end of things to make sure that everyone's questions have been answered, make sure everybody is updated to the newest version, and then also just making sure that you're feeling pretty good with your installation of Shepherd Staff so far. So with that in mind, we'll go ahead and just kind of go over our overview for right now here. And our overview is going to be the class agenda, which is this slide here. And we're going to go over just kind of how to install Shepherd Staff initially, like just a fresh installation on a new computer, as well as just how to check for updates and make sure that you're on that newest version. We are currently on the 9.2 version right now. And that will also include kind of looking kind of on the network side of things on either just finding a map drive. It doesn't have to have a drive letter. It could be a UNC, just depending on how your networking administrator has things kind of set up for you, kind of hunting down that and connecting to a database that way, as well as kind of a grand sort of tour on the different program settings where you would kind of enter in your church information and also entering in your user security information. This would also include kind of like inviting more people into your software for new employees so that they would have their own kind of login and password as needed. Then we'll also go over how to create and then also restore backups as needed for anybody that is either kind of just moving over or just restoring a backup due to, just something happening and just needing to restore that data. We do have the capability and features on that. And then kind of going over the new login screen as well as like the toolbars and just kind of the general sort of information that just didn't really fit into any of the other kind of more modular sort of webinars here, kind of just showing you the different utilities. And then just at the very end, kind of rounding it out with a little question answer quiz. I'm not going to tell, the pastor anything if you guys failed or not. Just kind of really nailing home those sorts of questions and making sure that you guys have a good understanding of the software and how to install it. And then at the very end, once all is said and done, if you have no questions, you can definitely leave the webinar. This is recorded, so you'll be fine. But if you did have any sort of questions, I'll definitely be hanging back and doing a question answer session as well, or if it's more pertaining to like your specific situation, we can kind of follow up and see if we need to have just a support call related to that as well. So if that sounds good to you guys, then we'll go ahead and just get started in here. So with this, starting out, we are just kind of assuming, it's just a fresh installation of your software here. So Right now, we don't have it installed onto my computer just yet. So if you do find that you do need to either update a particular version of your Shepherd Staff software, or if you have a new computer, you can certainly reach out to us here in support. We do have our little help center here. It is located at shepherdstaff.zendesk.com. So we have a lot of good articles that you'll be able to kind of visit here as needed. And we do have this specific article where if you are interested in downloading an installation file, you can sign in and you can like look at all your past Help Center tickets. And if you are connected to your church's information, you can then click on any of these links here, and depending on what subscription your church is using, you would be able to download the installation files themselves. For all of the other three, you would kind of get like an oops sort of screen. If you get an oops sort of screen for all four of them, there's just a chance that either you're just not covered under an active support contract, or we just need to connect you to your church. No big deal. Feel free to reach out to us, and we can either connect you to your church information so that you'll be able to access these links, or we can just email you those links just directly as well. We're fine either way. We just have these kind of self-service options for you as well. But once you either access the links from the Help Center right here, or if we email you them as well, it will give you a secure link so that you can click on it and it will download a zip file to your downloads folder. And when you do decide to do that, we'll go ahead and click out of here. Whenever it is that you do download this, you will see a similarly titled sort of installation file like SS92, meaning it is the 9.2 version, CTS either full or small church edition, something along those lines. It'll look very familiar to this in a zip file here. And then what you're going to want to do is going ahead and extracting the information that is out of that. And to do that, when you are in the downloads folder, you see this zip file. If you right click, you will have a few different options just depending on your version of Windows. But typically there is an extract all option here, so you'll click on that. And let's bring it on over here. And then you'll just click on the extract option here. And just what that does is just kind of open it up into its own little folder. It's no longer zipped. And then it'll have this little installation file that's available here. And then you'll click on that file to just kind of get it to start to run here. So clicking on here, you'll have this option. It might ask if you need a user account control, and it will just let you know you might need to put in your administrator information for your computer just to make sure that you can install new programs on there. But then you will be greeted by this setup wizard that then you'll be able to kind of just click through the different prompts. If you wanted to add it to the taskbar, you can, or you can just keep clicking on through. You will accept the terms of the license agreement, just the typical installation sort of prompts that are available here. And once it does finish extracting the files and kind of installing that, it will appear both on your desktop and depending on if you chose to add it to your start screen or to your taskbar down here, then it would appear here as well. In addition to that initial prompt, if it doesn't add it to, or if you choose to not add it to your taskbar, but then you change your mind, down here you can highlight the Shepherd Staff icon right down here, and you can right click on it to pin it to the taskbar as well. That's always an option, so then you just can have it in multiple places and pull it up whenever it is that you need. But once it does finish setting up, then you will be greeted with this login screen that we have in here. And we do have these two fields for your user ID and your password. When you initially install onto a new computer, it is just going to be a blank default database here, just because it's just a brand new setup. And those default credentials for a blank database is sysadmin. And then the password is just password. And the passwords in Shepherd Staff, they are not case sensitive. So putting PASSWORD, that would be the default credentials for just a blank database. So if you were just completely starting from scratch, then you would just go ahead and go in here. It will let you know what your church name is if you were connected to an existing database, or if you needed to, kind of update for software updates, especially when you just initially install. You can check for updates as needed there if you have a registered database. But whenever it is that you do regardless of whether you are starting from scratch, you could go ahead and just continue to log in and just create things from here. Or you can attach to an existing database or restore a backup from an existing database. And depending on your situation, if it was that it was just a straight up a new install, you could go ahead and click on continue and just be opened up to that empty sort of area. If you did need to switch between different databases, you can click on this, naturally, spoiler alert, the switch button that's available here to kind of open up a explore window, where it does assume initially that you are going to be accessing it from the local drive, which is typically your C drive, in that Shepherd Staff folder that was installed with the program in here. So we have this Staff 9 here, and it just doesn't have anything because it was just a brand new database in here. But if you did need to find another database, like if you had multiple computers that had Shepherd Staff installed on it, and you had one database on another network drive, depending on what your network administrator has set up, you can decide to change this folder. Instead of the C drive folder here, we can click on here to open up your File Explorer. And if you needed to, you can access your mapped drives or your UNC drives, depending on whatever your network configuration is, by clicking on the This PC option here. And you'll be able to see all of the different drives that you have access to. In this particular instance, I might go to the Shepherd Staff option here for the N drive here, and I'll be able to find whatever folder it is that I'm looking for. So if I was looking for the mapped folder in here, I could select that folder because I know the database is in there. And then I would have those options that I could update, whether it's the map database or the webinar database. I could choose exactly what it is that I want to attach to, click on the one that I want, and then select that particular database as needed. So definitely feel free to use that. Shepherd Staff is a local-based software, so if you are going to be sharing the database, it does need to be within the same local network. So it's not a web-based software. Your data isn't out in the cloud or anything regarding that. It will be housed on your physical computers as needed. So you wouldn't be able to share it between cities unless you had like some third-party remote option where you're actually remoting into your church computer to be able to access that. And if you do choose to share that, then once you have made sure all of your programs in your vicinity are connected to the same database, then people would be able to continually access and update that particular database as needed. So that's just something else to keep in mind. Otherwise, if it is just solely on your local computer, this is the only computer that you're going to be using Shepherd Staff on, then by all means you can just kind of restrict it to just that particular computer. So we have both those standalone options and those networked options, so long as they are on the same local network from there. In addition to that, you can also use these installation files to update your older software. So if you had like maybe an older version of Shepherd Staff, you can run those installation files to update them manually. If they are less, or if they are earlier than, say, maybe the 8.8 area of the software versions, we can see here that it's the 9.2 is our current database right now. If you do want to upgrade everything from like 8.8 on, then you should be able to use that for, or should be able to use your installation files as needed from there. If you do run into any issues, please feel free to reach out to us, or if you have like maybe an older system where you need to maybe make some leapfrog installations, we can definitely help you with that. So please feel free to reach out to us regarding that. But once we go ahead and either connect to your database, or if this is just a standalone option and we're just kind of creating it from here, we'll go ahead and click on continue here. And you will be greeted by these the system information here. Since this is a blank database, you don't have things like your church name or address here, so you will need to go ahead and fill this in initially. I'll go ahead and put it in for Christ Community Church here, and then putting in whatever our address is in here, Jefferson Avenue, St. Louis, MO, and then entering in that address information initially. Anything that you see that is in blue or has an asterisk, it is required. So the address and the church name, that's very important for the database, for us to know exactly what this database is attached to. You can choose to go further and add things like your country, your phone, your email. If you have this extra information and you want that included in your database information, you can add that in. But otherwise, just what is blue, that is the only thing that is required. And that blue information also includes your denomination information as well. So if we did have a particular denomination, like say LCMS for the Lutheran Church here, down here we can type in LCMS, just making sure that we are denoting that denomination. And we can also choose different software editions as well, going that step further. It is typically fine just to go ahead and go with the standard version. It might change some of the parochial reports, so you might just be interested in just making that change just initially. If you did want to change it to something more specific, you can click on this change button here. And we do have various different software editions like Lutheran. And if you do have something that has like different divisions of denominations, then you can also choose specific settings as needed. If you do find that you just choose a denomination and you're not seeing something specific to you, you can just choose whatever is closest to what you need for your membership information for your annual report, and go ahead and change this. It will let you know that if you do change it kind of within already using the software, it might kind of make those received by, removed by information for your members change just a little bit. And if nobody is expecting it, it might catch people off guard. So we just have this little warning just to let you know of that. But we'll go ahead and say yes here and change that software edition. It will require you to exit and restart Shepherd Staff to kind of fulfill that complete change, but we'll just go ahead and just save the information right here for now. So saving that information here, that will save our church information. If you do have a school that you do want to maybe on the finance side of things, maybe use it for your accounts receivable, for things like tuition and other things along those lines, you can also add in school information as appropriate. Otherwise, you can skip this, no big deal. You can see additional information for your programming information by clicking on the program button here. And it will show you whatever your current program version is. You can check for updates within the software itself in addition to that login screen. And it will show you things like your active database and then just any other sort of file related information on what exactly it is pulling from here. Then you can also, if you did want to, whenever it is that you exit out of the software, if it does detect that you haven't created a backup, backups are always good for redundancy. If you haven't created a backup in a while, it will kind of give you a reminder, but you can disable that if you don't want to use it. If you have like maybe another automatic system for your computer set up, you could use that instead. But you know, backups and redundancy is always good to make sure that you definitely have all of your congregation's information. So I'll go ahead and just not disable that for that. Then we also have our security areas here as well. And this is where you would add in new users for your program here. So if you're just starting out, you're only going to see this system administrator option here, and it's always going to be available. If you did need to change it, since password isn't a very secure password, you can edit this information here and change the password if you need to, so that even if someone uses the sysadmin user ID, they wouldn't be able to use just the straight up default password, but that's perfectly up to you as needed from there. If you did need to add in a new person, then we can click on this add button to add in a new login here. Clicking on the add button here will enter in a user ID. It will need to have more than 3 characters. So if it was something like maybe a secretary, you could put in secretary or just secretary. Just whatever it is that you would like to put for that user ID that they have to type in order to go ahead and log in. Then you can assign a first and last name. So if this was for Arlene Dowling here, we'll add in that first name and last name so that whenever we look at the audit log, we can kind of see that, yes, this person logged in and made these particular changes. It would be attached to their name as needed. We'll mark them as active since this is a new user here. And then we can create a password for them. And they can tell you whatever password it is that they want, or you can go ahead and create one for them by clicking on this create password option here. And once you click on the create password, you'll be able to edit that information in here. So I'll go ahead and just put in a similar password, and any sort of case sensitivity is not involved in here, so you can make it more complicated by adding in maybe numbers or another phrase, just so long as they don't contain these particular characters, these special characters in here, then you should be good in creating that password from there. If they did need a hint from the login screen, you can add in this hint if you want to. It's just completely up to whatever your preference is for this user here. Then in addition to their user ID and password, in the lower area here, we're going to choose what permissions it is that they have. And you can also kind of granulate these permissions depending on the different modules that they might come into contact with. So for membership, relating to creating and maintaining membership contact or membership personal information, you can go in here and choose between 3 different options. Whether they have no access, they can't even open up the module, it won't even be an option, it'll be grayed out. They just don't need to have access to this. They could be a supervisor, which would give them full access of everything, including utilities like mass update utilities. Then you would be able to give them just full access to that particular module. Or if you kind of wanted to pick and choose more of those permissions, you can kind of go in the middle and choose the user option that's available here. And whenever you choose the user option here, you'll kind of be able to go into details relating to this particular module. So for membership, for the users, you can choose whether or not they can modify membership data, if they can make, significant changes. If you wanted to add things like touch points or touch points notes, just any sort of visitation or any sort of notes relating to a visit, you can add those into people's records. You can add in notes and attachments, which would include not only the ability to view and to add in new ones, but also to edit and delete them. Or if you wanted to also give them the ability to work with membership subgroups, which are kind of those filtering options, whether it's going to be a manual assignment or if it's going to be criteria based. And you can kind of choose which ones it is that you would like to grant, or you can grant them all, or you can revoke them all and be able to, kind of update whatever information it is that you want them to be able to do. Then going further, you can do that for each of the different modules, like for instance, for attendance, either, no access at all, supervisor access to everything, or for user access, you can choose whether or not to actually post the badges, like they would be able to go ahead and create them, but without this ability, they wouldn't be able to post them and kind of attribute them to each of the people records, or just doing things like maintaining events or subgroups, things along those lines, or the ability to add in visitors while adding those in for the badges. That would also be added to the membership module. You would be able to choose those. For contributions, you'd be able to kind of see if they could modify already existing data or if maybe they could just create batches. Then you can also choose to give them the ability to post those batches or just to kind of create them just kind of in a in progress sort of mode. You can give them the ability to create deposits in finance if that's appropriate, as well as the ability to see things like contributor names, maintaining like giving funds, and then also subgroups relating to contribution information as well. Then for finance and for scheduler, for finance here, you can choose exactly what it is that they could maintain depending on what their permissions are. And then also for scheduler, exactly what types of information in the scheduler module you would want them to have. But if that is all appropriate, you are satisfied with all of those different permissions, then you would go ahead and just click OK for those. There is also the ability for web tools access or for email access as well, sending emails from the program itself through Outlook. You can give them those permissions as well. Once you are satisfied with what it is that they're able to do, clicking on the Save button right here, we'll be able to add them in here. And so let's see, I need to click on Create Password. There we go. Then clicking on the Save button here, then we do have that new user ID for our secretary so that Arlene can go in here, use her user ID and her password, and have only very specific types of permissions for your Shepherd staff database. In addition to the security module here, we also have our audit log. And this audit log will show you just each individual change that happens in the database. So if you do kind of see something that's a bit wonky, maybe something's being changed that shouldn't be, you can always go up here to the system and go to program settings and kind of see those audit logs as needed. You can also use the search option if you're looking for something in particular. And then we just have additional tools that are available here. I don't foresee you visiting this too terribly often, but you could go and use these to check for additional updates, in addition to like the login screen and other areas. You can register your database with web tools if you wanted to use kind of those sort of web-based sort of options that could then be downloaded into your database in here. You can also do certain types of things like compressing your photos if it was getting to be too big, or if you needed to reset some certain flags, they're available here as well. So from there, from those program settings, you would be able to just kind of update this information as needed. In addition to those program settings, just kind of giving more of a tour up here, you can also have kind of these little shortcuts here so that if these were hidden, you could choose the different kinds of modules here. Also things like your subgroups, reports, just any of these icons if they were hidden in here. Then we also, under System, we have those program settings that we were just in, and you can also go straight to User Security if you needed to. Or if you did log in and you needed to change your password, you already logged in using your password, but you want to change it for any sort of reason, or if, like with Arlene's sort of situation, the system administrator gave her sort of a general sort of password, she could log in using that password option and then reset it within the system so that it is just completely secure and unique to whatever it is that she needs. We also have some tools in here where we will get back to on like creating your backups as well as restoring backups or switching databases so that you don't have to close out and go back into the login menu as needed. And then also we have some setting options here. Again, I don't foresee you visiting this too terribly often, but if you did find that you're like opening up like maybe a module and it's not appearing, maybe it's behind something, you can go up here and like reset your window sizes and settings so that whenever it is that you bring up that module, it will just be straight up front and center as needed. So I have seen some people where that is definitely helpful. Also, just some things like your background color, exactly what you want on your toolbar. You can just kind of customize things as needed. Then whenever you have any sort of windows that are available, you are able to open up all these modules all at once. You can choose if you wanted to just kind of stack them in some certain way. Then we also have this exit sort of area so that you can exit the program as opposed to having to go up here. It does the exact same thing, but it will just kind of prompt you just to make sure that this is actually what it is that you want to do. But from here, you can just definitely just explore as needed and see the different resources and the help option. I'll definitely get back to that in just a second. But these are just kind of the different areas when you're just kind of getting used to where to access all of the different modules and the different kind of utilities that kind of encompass those types of modules as well. But regarding that, I also kind of want to go over our backup system as well. So in the event that maybe you are moving to a different computer, or if for redundancy purposes, if you're running a utility like either the mass update utility or a promotion utility, or if you're renumbering your envelopes and you want to just kind of have that backup just in case, if you ever needed to go back to that kind of point in time, you can create a backup as needed whenever it is that you want, and you can have as many backups as you would like. There is no limit, it's just for redundancy, so you can definitely create those as needed. And whether you are from the login screen or if you're already kind of working in here like we are right now, you can go up here to this tool option, and we have this backup option that's available. And you do have two different options if you wanted to back up just your database, which is just mostly your data. And then you can also back up your photos as well, just depending on the situation. Typically with the database, that's the kind of the more important sort of area here. So I'll go ahead and click on the database option here. And then from here for this backup area here, it will just kind of remind you exactly what database it is that you're in. We are in this blank database here for this staff 9. And then we have this kind of backup location kind of already chosen for us because this is just where that database is. It is recommended that you do add your backups to a different computer just for redundancy's sake, just in case the worst happens and you lose this computer. We don't want all of your backups to also be on this computer as well. So if you did kind of want to change exactly where this backup location is going to take place, you can click on this folder button right here and choose exactly where you would like to save it. If we wanted to save it like maybe on a different network drive, like that map folder that we had previously, we can choose that instead, and it will just update that path as needed. And then we have these 3 additional options for you. So if you wanted to back up the entire database, you would click on this, or you wanted to back up the database just full stop. You would check this initial box here, and it's automatically checked by default here. If you did want just a refresh on exactly what these buttons are, you can always click on these help screens here, and it will tell you exactly what these buttons are for. If you did have like maybe a treasurer situation where maybe the treasurer is working off-site, then you could also check out your finance module. It doesn't do anything regarding your finance data, but whenever it is that you open up your finance module, it's going to say, hey, it's been checked out. Maybe the treasurer is working in it. Maybe it's not a good idea to be making any sort of changes. In the event he comes back and restores his database, it's going to wipe out any sort of data that you might have done in there. So it's just kind of that kind of reminder sort of utility that, hey, it might be checked out, and when it's brought back, it might override data that you're going to be putting in. But otherwise, you can use your finance module in the same way. It's just an extra reminder to utility. And then last but not least, if you do have a registered database, meaning you have an active support contract and you have registered your database with us, you have this additional option to upload to CTS, which is our server. So in addition to saving it on this mapped folder here, if I did have a registered database, right now I don't because it's blank, I could check this box and it also sends an encrypted file to our server in the event, the worst happens, then we would have that on our server as needed. And whatever the most updated database it is that has been sent to us, we will keep, and it will just keep being updated every single time you upload it to CTS. So that is definitely a perk to having an active support contract where you'd be able to access your web tools, you'd be able to upload to CTS for that extra redundancy, and you would also have your regular support as well. So whenever you're ready to go ahead and create that backup, once you have your options selected here, you would click on this backup icon right here, and it will let you know that it was successful. So you can feel free to create backups just as you need, and you can save them to your USB drive. And then also, if you had it installed on maybe your home computer, you can restore it so that you have that access. It would be 2 separate databases from there on out. So you definitely want to be careful if you're moving back and forth. But for just typical reference data, that could certainly be helpful to you. In addition to being able to create those backups, if you did need to restore that backup after maybe the treasurer was working on his computer and now he needs to restore it onto the church computer now, once he has that backup, he's created that backup from his home computer and he's bringing it into the church computer, he plugs in the USB drive and he goes into log in here. So once we go ahead and log in, I'll go ahead and click on this Shepherd Staff 9 now. And bringing it back over here. When I am ready to go ahead and restore my particular backup, I will need to go ahead and put in an administrator type role or user ID from here, which in this aspect would be just the sysadmin. So clicking on the sysadmin and then entering in my password in here. You can always just double check and make sure that your password is accurate. In addition to the continue or the switch buttons, we also have the ability to run some utilities on this login screen as well, including the ability to restore your backup. So in this case, since this is a blank database, I kind of want to override it with something that I already have. Maybe it's from that treasurer, from his computer. Or if you would just installed from here and you want to restore from an existing computer so that you have that existing data, you would go up here to this utilities option here. And we have a few different options depending on the situation. But in this aspect, we'll click on the restore option here. And then on the restore menu that we have here, it will ask you, what database it is that you're going to restore. This is kind of what it's detecting, the Staff 9, which is the blank database. So that's not really what I want. And if it does detect any sort of backup history, it could kind of make a guess as to what it is that you want to restore, but ultimately it is your choice on exactly what it is that you want to restore here, and that's what this third field is available here. So it does kind of fill in that last backup that it's detecting, but if you did want to restore a backup from another computer here, we can click on this File Explorer here. Opening this up, maybe instead of the mapped folder, maybe I had one from a USB drive, or I do have this one from our desktop here. I can choose this from here. And then once I have that backup file selected, then I have a few additional choices here. If I wanted to restore the entire database, which would include membership, attendance, contributions, finance, scheduler, everything on that database, I would choose this first option. if we are kind of continuing with that sort of treasurer sort of situation where maybe we're still working on the membership, attendance, and contributions in the church computer, we don't want that overwritten. We just want to overwrite only the finance portion of things. Then instead of this first option, we could choose to restore the finance module only. So if it was just a treasurer situation and just wanted to restore that, we could restore only the finance and leave the membership, attendance, contributions, and scheduler modules just completely alone. Then we have that option as well. Or if this was more along the lines of just your photos and attachments, we could choose this third option instead. But regarding this, I'll go ahead and just choose, let me actually choose that desktop option again, and choose to upload the entire database since this is a fresh install. Clicking on the restore button, it will let you know if it's kind of detecting that it's a different church database. Since this was a blank database, that makes sense. We'll go ahead and say yes to this, and then it will go ahead and close. Once we go ahead and reopen this, let me move this back over. If there is any sort of mismatch depending on your version, no need to panic, perfectly fine. It just means that whatever the database it is that you're restoring, it just doesn't match up to the one that you have installed right here. And so it could just be a different version number. It could be a different release number, maybe something relating to maybe the infrastructure. You can go ahead and just click OK if that's okay. Once it has already opened up for your login screen, it will kind of show you that it's not going to let you log in because there is just something that they're just mismatching on. So the only thing that you need to do is just go ahead and just check for updates. And clicking on this check for updates option here, it will let you know that, hey, there isn't a release available, and it was probably attached to that existing backup here. So we will just run through this installation update so that I would be able to access this particular backup. So from here, let's see. Bringing it over here, there we go. Then you'll just go through the setup wizard in the same vein as when it is that you initially installed it on here. So whenever it is that it is appropriate, whether it's every month or maybe every other week or weekly as needed, you can always click on that check for updates option here. Just make sure that your version and your release dates are always just up to date as much as possible. Once your database is registered, then you would be able to check for updates as needed, and it should run relatively smoothly like it is right here. If there are any sort of messages that do pop up that you're just not quite sure of, please feel free to reach out to us here in support, and we can definitely just kind of make this a little bit smoother for you. So no big deal on that. In addition to being able to update these existing database backups through the restore option, you are able to run additional utilities from the login screen in addition to that, like the optimize option or to reset your sysadmin password. We can definitely help you if you ever need to reset that in any sort of way so that you have that overall access for the system administrator, but we'll definitely be available as needed from there. So, okay. And once it finishes updating, then you would be able to access that new restored database and just everything that it had available to you. So now that we have restored that database, now looking here, if I did need to just kind of make sure that I did restore everything completely, you can click on your church name in the lower left-hand corner here, and it will let you know exactly where this new database is located. You can see here that it says webinar database, not that staff 9 anymore. So then we know that this is the new restored database. It's accurate, and it will show you exactly when it was last backed up, when it was last optimized. So then you can just definitely be sure that this is definitely the database that you want to be connected to. And then we also have the ability to kind of look at some of these other utilities just as you need. If you did want to optimize the database just to make sure everything is in order, then you can always optimize the database just whenever. It's typically just a few seconds, so that's always a good, just kind of a double check as needed from there. And then also, if you did need to reach out to us for any sort of situation, we do have some of these advanced sort of options here so that we can apply just certain utilities from there. But don't foresee you needing that too terribly often. But once you go ahead and kind of maintain or make sure that you are connected to the right database location, you are on the newest release, you can always check for updates one more time if you need to, and it will let you know that you're on the latest version. Once we are happy with that, we'll go ahead and log back in so that whenever we go ahead and go back in here and maybe go into your backup options again, then we have that upload to CTS option that we can always use as needed, and that will create that extra redundant sort of utility from there. And then you also have a few other options as well. If you needed to register your database so that you can access some of these utilities, going up here to the Web Tools Cloud here, and it'll let you know if there's like something that you need to sync. Clicking on here, you'll be able to see exactly what your Web Tools link is if you did want to access that from the website and then pull it down at a later time. You can kind of see this information. It will let you know your support status or if you need to sync it and just upload that information from the Web Tools area here. Or if you had additional tools, like if you wanted to kind of check your support and kind of see what your account or database key is, that's available. Or if you needed to register it, you would be able to enter in your account and your order number as well. And this is typically found on your last invoice whenever it is that you paid your Shepherd Staff support contract. If you don't have that available, again, just reach out to us here in support and we can provide that for you. And you would just go in here, you would register, you would only have to do this once so that whenever it is that you need to, you can either use Web Tools, you can upload to CTS, or in addition to that, you can go up here to resources where it has like additional Concordia publishing information and then also help information as well, particularly underneath training. So this webinar that we are recording right now, it will be available in the software itself underneath videos. So once this run is finished, you would be able to go up to the help option, go under training and click on videos, and you'll have this kind of player option here with a list of just all of the webinars that we had created last. And that would be available to you for you to run even if you are not connected to the internet. So that would definitely be available to you even if you didn't have access to the help center or to any of those resources, you would still have those videos available to you. And also, regarding your help options here, if you did need to reach out to us here in support, all of your support tickets are covered underneath that support contract, so it's definitely a perk. You can also click on this Connect with CTS option, and whenever it is that you give us a call or send us a chat or an email, we would be able to either call you if we're not already talking to you, and then give you those support keys so that we can get remoted into your computer and help you out just one-on-one as well. So those are definitely some of the perks that are related to this as well. Then, whenever it is that you are navigating in this system here, if you have any questions or if you see any of these unique types of links here, like if we were looking at Web Tools here, anytime you see these little question marks, these are links to articles in our help center that can definitely be helpful. So I definitely recommend looking at that. And then it also for the what's new option, like maybe if you went ahead and checked for updates, it said, okay, we need to run an update and you're kind of curious on exactly what it is that we had updated for you, you can click on this what's new option here and be taken to our release notes as well. And in large part, I think that is largely everything that I can think of. So if it is all right with you, I'd just like to run through a few different questions for you. And so then I'm going to go ahead and send out some poll questions. And then any other questions that you guys might have, then we'll just take time regarding that. So my first question is going to be, is it true or false that we have installation files that you can download? So is that going to be available on our help center? Can you request it from support? Or are you just up a creek and you're just going to have to send us some smoke signals so that we can drop them off by carrier pigeon? All right, then. I'm glad I'm getting these things hitting home, because everybody that voted is correct and saying that it is true. You can definitely reach out to us in shepherdstaff.zendesk.com. That is our help center, so it can definitely be a helpful resource, has articles, has videos, and it also has those installation files. And if you are at any point, uncomfortable with running that installation, you can definitely reach out to us in that same area as well. So in addition to that, is it true or false that Shepherd staff can be accessed in different cities? Let's see. Am I going to trip anybody up? I think I might have tripped someone up. All right. Then we can just hammer it on home. All right then. So I put false, but it could be an it depends sort of situation. For the most part, it is false. It is a locally based software, so it does have to be in the local network. So it definitely helps if they're all accessing the same database. If you have multiple computers with Shepherd staff, they're all accessing the same database through the same network. And that does require them to be in the same local vicinity for the most part. But if you were able to use like a third-party option to manually remote into the church computer, then that could be a way to access it from a different city just through that remoting software itself. So by itself, it is locally based. You wouldn't be able to access it, but there are a few workarounds as needed. And we also do have those web tools as well as the restore or the create and the restore backups sort of situation. So we definitely have workarounds, but as a whole, it's working around that locally based software so that you always have access to your data, and it's just not on a different server on the cloud from there. And I probably just already spoiled this, but is it true or is it false that backing up to a local drive, you can also send an additional backup to our server? I am so shocked. I did not, trip up anybody with that one, so you guys already know that one. All right, then. Sounds good. So everybody that answered, they already knew the answer, and those who didn't answer probably knew too. But it is true, you do have multiple different perks whenever it is that you have an active support contract, including up-to-date installation files for the newest versions, the training support, unlimited support, the updates, the web tools, and then also that extra redundancy. You know what they say, man plans, God laughs. But we have to have some redundancy to make sure our congregations are taken care of. So, and let's see here. Then we also have a question on if we're updating from 8.9 or newer, it's recommended to reach out to support. It's like, I know I threw like a lot of numbers at you, 8.8, 8.9, 9.2, but if it is 8.9 or newer, do you absolutely need to talk to support in order to update? I think I caught someone. All right. Good, because it's a weirdly worded question, so I think we're good. But the answer is false, just because it's 8.9 or newer. If it is a newer version, like 8.8 on, then the infrastructure can be updated from within the check for updates utility. So you definitely can run to check for updates, even if you are 8.8, 8.9, 9.0. You can run those check for updates and it will get you all the way up to 9.2. But if it is 8.7 or older, then there might need to be some infrastructure updates that are needed through the use of the actual installation files. And we can definitely help you with that via support. So just definitely give us a ring or reach out to us and we can either send you those installation files if you are, tech savvy, or if your IT folks need to do it. Otherwise, we can definitely remote in and help you with that further upgrade as well. And then last but not least, let's actually press the right button, Taylor. The right button. Okay. So is it true or is it false that restoring a backup replaces it with a snapshot of how that database was created? Okay, people jumped on that. Okay, real quick. Sounds good. So I think the typical people have already answered. So I think I'm going to go ahead and close it. So the answer is true. So whenever you create a backup, it's essentially taking a picture of exactly what the database is looking like right now, so that if you make a mistake or if you delete a whole bunch of people, you can restore that backup and it essentially just brings it back to that snapshot point. So if you did add in anything or if you deleted anything, restoring that backup would essentially just right all of those wrongs and just bring everything back to what it was at that point in time, which can definitely be helpful for when computers want to be fickle. So with that, we'll go ahead and just open it up for questions. If you don't have any questions, thank you for taking time to spend with me on talking about system administration and Shepherd staff. If you have any questions, feel free to put that in and I'll start addressing those in just a couple seconds. But I do definitely appreciate your time with me. Feel free to reach out to us here in support, either by phone, by chat, through the help center, or by using that email address that we have in right here. So feel free to reach out to us. We're definitely happy to help however it is that we can, and hope that I'll be able to talk to a couple of you as well. So have many blessings and just enjoy your day.